Yeah, and there's definitely research about visualization in between sets that have shown increases in strength when guys do in between sets of, say, a bench press or a squat. They're visualizing what they want to achieve for the next set. You're sitting there hanging out, visualizing putting up another 5 reps or whatever it is, versus people who are just kind of doing whatever, chatting, I don't know, trying to pick up chicks or whatever.
Good, man. Cool. So, what do you find are the best strength exercises that you use for athletes right now? Let's do some superficial stuff now.
Okay. The strength stuff, man, can't get away from just for pure max strength. Can't get away from the big compound movements like the back squat. Love the back squat, the deadlift, front squat, overhead press, bench press, pull ups, that kind of stuff for pure strength.
Sure, sure. No, I completely agree. You can get a lot done with just those basic exercises. I'm interested in your take on like the Olympic lifts because the Olympic lifts are an interesting category. So many people consider them just the most athletic movements, but in
Yeah.
reality, getting good at the Olympic lifts means you're just getting good at the Olympic lifts. So, how do you apply that in training your athletes? And do you think it's worth it to go and learn full cleans and full snatches and jerks, or just to use kind of the power variants of those exercises?
It definitely depends on the athlete. I mean, if
Sure.
I'm training a fighter and we've got a camp and a fight's coming out in 8 weeks, there's no way I'm going to try and teach a guy, full snatch, dropping down at the bottom,
Right.
because it's going to be snatching like 95 pounds by the time the fight comes around, and it's not going to be that beneficial. It's going to be all skill and technique, which
Sure.
is good, but it's not going to develop transfer over.
Sure.
I definitely do think the Olympic lifts are valuable for guys if they already know them. Then we can definitely program them in. The power variants are definitely valuable if guys aren't as familiar with them. Like the one place where I really like the Olympic, or the one reason why I really like the Olympic lifts is because it trains the stretch shortening cycle twice. So the stretch shortening cycle, for those of you, maybe do your peeps know the stretch shortening cycle? Is that something you talk about a
Probably
lot?
not. No, I don't talk about that.
Okay, so the
Before.
stretch shortening cycle, I know because I talk about it all the time actually. So people who are following me probably know it. And what it is basically is whenever you stretch a muscle, and at the end of that stretch, especially when it's a quick stretch, you have more potential for force if you contract right away.
Right.
So basically, it's like when you're dipped down before a jump and then you jump versus staying low, say you're in like a wall squat, like a wall sit type position. You're sitting there for 5 seconds and then you jump, you can't jump as high. And the reason why is because you don't have that stretch shortening cycle there.
Right.
And for a sport like MMA or pretty much any sport, I mean, the stretch shortening cycle is something that gives you that ability to change directions like super quick, to explode and catch a guy when he's not expecting it.
Yeah.
So the Olympic lifts train that better than any other exercises that I've found. But it does take skill and it does beat your body up. So unless you've got the proper movement patterns, good coaching, and you've got the ability, like just biomechanical ability or anatomical ability to do the movements properly, then there's other exercises that you can do that can give you benefits as well.
Yeah. What do you substitute, like when you're looking to build that stretch shortening cycle or power without having to go through the skill coaching of Olympic lifting? What are your favorite exercises?
Kettlebell swings are good, definitely for the posterior chain
Sure.
development there. Especially when you're like really when you get the bell up to the top, you pull it down with some extra
Right.
force.
Doing those fast eccentrics.
Yeah, totally. That's good for kind of the anterior, the front, the knees, the quads, those muscles. Things like drop jumps are beneficial, and just squat jumps, typical squat jumps, where you're dropping down really quick and then exploding.
Right.
I do one drill I call the drop squat, where you just basically start on your toes, standing up on your toes, and then you try to drop yourself as quickly to the ground into a deep squat as possible, and then explode up.
Oh, very
So
cool.
you just start off in a little different position. But when you
Right.
start up on your toes, it allows you to get a little more velocity going down.
Right.
So you need more strength and more force to change directions and explode up, and that trains your stretch shortening cycle there as well.
That's cool. So it's kind of like a jump squat, but with more emphasis on the eccentric, the negative portion. You're really trying
Yeah,
to like slam yourself into the ground and then reverse it really fast.
yeah, totally.
That's cool,
And
man.
and as opposed to doing like repeated, where you do jump squats like
Sure.
30 in a row or whatever, it's you do one rep and then you kind of reset, you get it back up on your
Right.
toes, and then you do another rep. So
Right.
you're really focused on being quick and
Sure.
exploding.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm gonna have to try that out one of these days. Very cool,
Yeah,
man.
it's a fun little drill.
All right, well, one more superficial thing for you.
Sure.
You train in MMA athletes. We all know these guys are the most conditioned, some of the most ripped athletes in the world. What are your favorite conditioning exercises that you think give people the most benefit as far as conditioning without the detriment of getting injured?
Without the detriment of getting injured. Let's
So
see.
there's a lot of stuff people are doing these days that are great conditioning exercises, but are inherently risky. So I'm interested in what you use on your athletes.
If you're just looking for pure conditioning and you don't want to get injured, your body's a little bit beat up, and maybe you got to save your joints a little bit, two things that I like are the prowler.
Yeah.
So prowler pushes. And the reason why I like that is because, one, it's all concentric movement pretty much.
Hmm.
So you're not going to get excess soreness. You're going to be able to train the next day without
Sure.
being super tight and stiff. And the other is the Airdyne. I don't know if you know the Schwinn Airdyne bike.
I got one in my garage.
Nice. So that one, you can hammer away on that thing. And unless you're a fool, you're not going to get hurt on it. I'd like bash your head into the handle when it's going or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, those two for, you're gonna get great. You're gonna be able to develop great conditioning with those two tools with a very low risk of injury.
That's cool. Yeah, that's good stuff. I bought an Airdyne a little while back after my last knee injury, and I've been using it. And like as far as conditioning goes, I put that up there with like the rower machine. Just absolutely crush your wind every single time you use it if you want to.
Yeah, totally.
Very cool, man. So before we go, obviously you've been digging into the flexibility market. You've been using your techniques with your MMA athletes, and you've recently released a program for just normal people that can use to stretch their flexibility in their hips. I'm interested in kind of what that program entails. Like, tell me, like, how does people apply this program? Is it a follow-along thing? Is it a step-by-step thing?
Okay. It's pretty simple. I designed it to be something that you can just take and plug in and around your current workout regime without taking a ton of time. So
Sure.
at most, like when you first start learning the exercises, there's a lot of technical little details of the exercises that'll take you a little bit to learn and to figure out. But once you learn that stuff, and that'll take a couple of weeks. Once you learn that stuff, each routine takes only about 15 minutes or so. So you're going to be adding maybe 15 to 20 minutes a day to work on your flexibility. And it's basically 5 components of the program. There's 5 different routines. One I call the kneeling routine, and that routine is really focused a lot on the joint capsule. The other is standing routine. That's working quite a bit on strength, actually. And this is all for the hips. Core routine, that one you can throw at the end of your workouts, and that's going to develop that core stability. And another concept that I call dissociation, which is oftentimes like you have certain muscles that are, they've always fired together. So the old saying, muscles that fire together wire together.
Sure.
So if you're always firing your abs and your hip flexors at the same time, then they're going to wire up together. So when one fires, the other one's going to fire, and vice versa. So some exercises to break that pathway so that muscles are supposed to work when they're supposed to work.
Sure.
And they're off when they're supposed to be off. So that's part of the core routine. Then I've got some active self-myofascial release stuff. It's like foam rolling, just a little active movement involved there. So it's kind of like active release.
Sure.
So basically it's like active release versus massage.
Right.
Active release tends to be a little bit faster in effect, a little bit more powerful.
Right.
So that's what I've done with the foam rolling, just add some contractions and some movements with your rolling around. So there's that. And then the advanced mobility stuff at the start. So some of these things like the advanced mobility stuff, you can basically swap in. You should be doing mobility stuff at the start anyway, which is what I assume. If you're not, then I show you some basic stuff you can do as well. The core stuff you just throw in at the end of your workouts instead of whatever typical core exercises you do. And then the kneeling and the standing routines, those are done either before or after workouts or separate from your workouts, ideally, if you got the time. So it's pretty simple to plug in. All you need is typically about 15 to 20 minutes a day. Show everything in video as well as on the manual. And yeah, there's a pretty big manual where I talk about all the theory behind like the 3D flexibility system, what makes you tight, so that you get a really good understanding of what's going on, so that when you apply it, oh, okay, this is why I'm doing this. And then that helps you. Well, I think at least it helps you stay consistent when you understand what you're doing and why.
Awesome, man. Cool. Well, thanks for giving us that little brief description of everything. I've gone through the program myself. I know that over 100 Garage Warriors have as well. So if you guys have tight hips, Eric's done a good job at making a program to help you not have tight hips. So I'll post a link below the show. Click that thing, check it out. It's an awesome program that you guys can use. Eric, I have one final question for you, my man. I'll ask everybody
Sure.
who's on the podcast. I say, you've obviously been successful as a trainer. You're training professional athletes. You're in the ring. You're in the octagon for the UFC now. You're getting great results. You're doing well financially. You've got a great online business and products and so on and so forth. What is your secret to success, my man?
Oh man, secret to success. Wow, didn't expect that one coming up.
Whoa, curveball.
Hold on. Let's cut. No. Secret to success. I think what's really helped me is doing something that I enjoy, and having the confidence that I can figure it out. I might be shit at the start of. I was shit at the start doing everything that I'm doing now,
Right.
like online stuff, figuring out how to, run a business, how to be a trainer, all that stuff. But just knowing that, having the confidence that I can learn it and that I can do it. And if other people have done it, I could probably figure it out too. So there's that, and then just focusing really on what I like to do. I like to train MMA fighters a lot more than I like to train 200-pound women who want to be 150-pound women. So focusing on that, I'm fired up to write stuff, fired up to do videos, create programs, and it's not work. It's not like I'm grinding and I'm regretting what I'm doing. I'm enjoying it, and it makes it easy, and then it makes learning all this other stuff I got to learn a lot easier as well.
Cool, man. That's a great tip. Well, Eric Wong, thank you so much for getting on the call and sharing your nuggets of wisdom with us, brother.
All right, man. I'll share my nuggets with you guys anytime.